Interstellar is back in theaters in December 2024 for its 10-year anniversary, prompting a deep dive look back. This movie's breathtaking landscape, both visually as well as emotionally, evokes a lot of intrigue. It's a very complex movie both scientifically as well as interpersonally, giving us a script such that you can never take your attention away lest you miss something that the next thing is built off of. Ostensibly, it's the story of a farmer, his two children, and his dead wife's father living on what seems to be the plains out west. They're dealing with dust bowl conditions and diminishing resources due to some kind of catastrophic event, later known as the Blight, that goes unidentified early on. This farmer turns out to be an engineer and a pilot, but those skills are no longer needed on this dying planet as the Earth's oxygen is being depleted. That's the story on the surface. Interstellar takes us on a journey of visual, sound, science, and emotion, and more. With sci-fi as its backdrop, in the foreground this film is a tale of love and loss, hope and humanity. It's a father and daughter story, with two sets of father-daughters displayed. It's also about family and sacrifice, wrapped up in a scientifically based space adventure and time warp dilemma. This film captures all of these human emotions and projects them through scientific decision points, which would seem to be decisions that need to be made cold and calculating, purely based on logic and fact. But instead, each decision is made against emotional dilemmas and impositions of human instinct. Ultimately, Interstellar is about the most human of instincts, survival. But not just physical survival, survival of one's spiritual and emotional being, survival of the human connections that matter to us most. So let's go through some of these elements that we have just mentioned. The visuals of Interstellar are eye-pleasing and look natural. Space shuttle liftoffs look photographer cited, and shots of space, the many heavenly bodies are breathtaking and real looking, with only light use of CGI to augment scenes, while dominantly using real locations, miniatures, practical effects. Director Christopher Nolan creates genuine environments that provide significant extra value to the film experience. Likewise, the sound engineering is of the highest order. Particularly in IMAX audio, you don't just hear realistic engines and machinery, you feel the roar of the engines reverberating off your seat and through the floor. With those technical aspects of the film craft accounted for, we can take note of the technical veracity of the science in this sci-fi movie. Nolan is highly praised for the strong theoretical basis of the science integrated into the film. While there were some science purists who criticized some exaggerations of the effects of those theories, by far most, even in the science community, praised the interweaving of concepts of relativity, gravities, time distortions, and wormholes into a strong dramatic narrative. So now we get to what I care about most, film used for exploration of the human condition. There's a lot of seemingly ambiguous or unrelated stuff happening early in the movie. It might seem like some pointless or random happenings, but like a good first act, it's all set up. Some of it sets up the plot that will come into play later, like the books falling off from Murphy's bookshelf, while others of it is to set the emotional tone. Cooper's attachment to his children, especially in the absence of their deceased mother, more particularly the connection that Murph has to her dad. He encourages her intellectual inquiry. He defends her against school officials. When he tries to leave her behind for an overnight trip, she hides in the car so she won't be without him for even that time. So imagine how she's going to react to him leaving for outer space for years, maybe even decades. The love between Coop and his children is strongly demonstrated, along with the loss of security of all of their society has experienced, the loss of food security, the loss of economic security, and even the loss of physical ecological security due to being at the behest of dust storms and reduced oxygen as their planet is dying. Everyone in the Cooper house has also experienced the loss of the mother. Her father lost a daughter, Coop lost the love of his life, and the children lost their mom. The grief of it all still looms over the characters as the worry of survival for living plagues daily concerns. The discovery of a hidden NASA program to find a new inhabitable world brings hope to the situation, at least for the Cooper household that knows about it, as well as among those at the NASA station. Plan A: find a planet that current Earth's inhabitants can be transported to, and solve the gravity equation that could make this mass transportation of people and critical infrastructure possible before Earth dies. Plan B: just keep humanity going with the human embryos stored on the spaceship Endurance, for if they found an inhabitable planet on the other side of the wormhole. Humanity's frailties, or maybe their strengths in some situations, continue to clash against faithfully executing these plans, though. Coop, at least early on, made decisions based on getting back to his kids, rather than what's good for all of humankind. Dr. Brand wanted to go see her boyfriend on the planet closest to the black hole, despite all the negative impacts of that versus the alternative remaining planet. Dr. Romilly almost calls it quits after 23 years alone on a space shuttle in orbit. Dr. Mann falsifies data to draw the Endurance crew to come rescue him, but his planet clearly had no habitation possibilities. Not to mention his attempt to murder Coop to effectuate his end goal. Professor Brand falsifies possibilities of solving the gravity equation to convince Coop and others of the Endurance crew to make the trek for the possibility of Plan A, when Plan B was the only possibility all along. The instinct for survival that Dr. Mann illuminates in his actions and his speech, as well as how love plays into that. How he denoted to Coop as he lay dying that his survival instinct would kick up another notch in his brain to fight to survive for his children. This love component is hit on prior to that also, with Dr. Brand being willing to risk everything and all to see the man she's still in love with, again on the planet closest to the black hole. These two objects of human experience, sometimes working together, sometimes working at cross purposes, are the driving forces of humanity illuminated in this film. Interstellar, a technical, sci-fi, and human experience masterpiece of a film.